All right, let's jump right in. We're going to explore two really powerful stories today. Both of them are about how our actions, especially the ones that come from a place of anger, can literally echo through our entire lives. One is a parable, something a wise monk witnessed, and the other, well, that's a real life story from a woman who believes she's paying for her past right now. Just imagine for a second, you're walking down the street and you hear that screamed at a little kid. It's just chilling, right? Well, this is exactly what a revered monk overheard a mother yelling, and he said that image, that sound was seared into his memory for years to come. So you gotta wonder, right? What could a 2-year-old possibly do to make someone that angry? You're probably thinking it must have been something terrible, some act of total defiance. But the real answer? It's actually much simpler, and honestly, a lot more heartbreaking. And it really shows you how anger can just completely blind us. Okay, so this first story, this parable, it all starts with an observation from this monk, Pananda Biku. He saw something happen in this small, kind of rundown house that it revealed this profound truth about how things like poverty and stress can lead to this totally misplaced anger. And the scene he saw it was awful. This little kid, not even 2, was being beaten. And the mother, well, she was 7 months pregnant, clearly struggling, under a ton of stress, and she just unleashed everything on him. But when you find out what his crime was, you just have to ask yourself, did this tiny child really deserve that? And here it is. This is the real tragedy of the whole thing. The kid wasn't being bad at all. His motive was completely innocent. He just finished eating, and all he wanted to do was help out. He was trying to copy the adults he'd seen washing their plates. But, his hands were just too small, the plate slipped and it broke. It was a complete accident that came from trying to do something good. So, seeing this whole thing unfold made the monk think back to his own childhood. It got him thinking about the huge difference between 2 ways you can raise a kid. One way creates fear, the other helps them grow. And believe me, that difference is absolutely key to this whole thing. Yeah, this really lays it out, doesn't it? When you punish a kid out of rage, you're not actually teaching them a lesson. You're just teaching them to be afraid of you. They don't learn why what they did was wrong. They just learn that you are a source of pain. But when you take a breath, you try to understand where they were coming from and you guide them gently, that's how you build real trust, a bond that can last forever. And look, this wasn't just some abstract idea for him. The monk himself said he suffered from what he called a disease of fearing the cane. He had this really strict uncle, and then a strict teacher, and the constant threat of getting hit. Well, it didn't make him a better kid. It just made him run away. It taught him how to avoid punishment, not how to be responsible. Okay, so that's the parable about anger. But now we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're moving from the parable to the proof. This is a real-life story about karma, about how the cruel things we might do when we're young can come back and, well, grow into a pretty bitter harvest when we're older. So let me introduce you to Kun Chile. She's a fruit seller, she's 40 years old, and she is just trapped in this deep, deep loneliness. The thing is, though, she doesn't see it as just bad luck. Not at all. She believes her suffering is a direct result of her own actions, like a debt that she's finally being forced to repay. Yeah, Chalaway is convinced her life is basically a living, breathing example of karma. And it's not about some guy in the sky judging you. It's more like a natural law, a law of cause and effect. The idea is simple. The energy you put out there, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't just vanish. It creates these ripples that sooner or later always come back to you. So to really get why her life is the way it is now, we have to go back. We have to look at her past. And specifically, we need to look at this kind of casual cruelty she had as a kid, how she actually found it funny to watch others suffer. And the key thing to understand here is that this wasn't a one-time thing. It was a pattern, a habit. She seemed to take this weird pleasure in tormenting little animals. Like there was this mynah bird that had only one leg. To most people, you'd feel sorry for it, right? But to her, it was an object of ridicule. Its struggle to get by was just entertainment. Well, a kind neighbor, this woman named Pei Chom, saw Chalai capture the mynah bird's chick, and she tried to step in. She tried to warn her, saying, that's a sin. That mother bird feels the loss of its child just like we do. But Chalai, she was young, arrogant, and just blew her off with anger. And her cruelty actually got more creative in a twisted way. She literally weaponized the poor little bird, teaching it to curse at the neighbor, Pachom. But you know how these things go. The novelty wore off. She got bored,
And her boredom just turned into outright torment, until her own father just couldn't stand to watch it anymore and secretly let the bird go. Okay, so let's fast forward. Decades go by. Chilue grows up, she gets married, she has a daughter. You'd think those childhood memories would just fade away, right? Nope. Instead, those echoes of what she did as a kid, they came back to define her entire adult life. And this is where you see the chilling symmetry of it all. It's not just do bad things happen. It's that the kind of suffering she's experiencing seems to perfectly mirror the kind of cruelty she inflicted. The public ridicule she aimed at a helpless bird, it came back to her as her own failed romance became town gossip. The way she separated a mother from its child, she's now separated from her own daughter. The cage she put that bird in, it's like she's living in her own emotional prison now.
And that, right there, is the heart of her pain today. Her own daughter lives with her grandparents now, and when Chilue calls, the girl is just cold, distant. She talks to her own mother like she's a stranger. So Chilue now knows exactly how that mother myna bird felt all those years ago, calling for a child who's just out of reach, a child who won't come home. So when you put these two stories together, what do we learn? I think it's that the anger we put out into the world, the cruelty we inflict, it doesn't just disappear. It becomes the seeds of our own future. Being compassionate isn't just some nice idea. It's a practical choice. It literally shapes the world that you will have to live in someday. So the final question is really for you. What sound are you making? What kind of world are you building for your future self?